Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And today we are reviewing a quote movie, unquote. And I do it that way because it is a piece of crap. And I hate to say that, but it really is. And I'm not being mean, I'm being honest. And it's a person who, I don't know what is his rate, actual rate of producing movies. It seems like he tries to get one out a year. He churns them out like he's making pasta or something. I don't know. Or maybe he's making microwave popcorn because there's not much substance to them. And his real good thing, what he ought to do is work for another filmmaker who can make films and do crowdfunding. He is very good at crowdfunding, meaning he has a lot of enthusiasm and really appeal to get money to make movies. But then once he gets a hold of the movie, whatever he's making, that's where it goes downhill. And we'll continue with the review of the actual movie, but it's called Woods Witch, and it's on Tubi because Marco found out what about Tubi, what they prefer to do with their what.
No, I found out that this piece of shit was on Tubi.
No, but in general, you said that.
No, I found out because I was trying to find something to watch in the background while Safi was doing some work with me in my room, and I saw Woods Witch pop up, and I was like, uh-oh, looks like we're going to have to review another one of these movies. And Safi was like, oh, no. And then it was like, okay, that's what I'm doing this evening, automatically, just to get it over with, because I knew it was probably going to be terrible. I didn't know if it would be worse than Amityville Karen or better, and I'm really kind of in between about it, because Amityville Karen was worse technically. It was technically like a worse movie in terms of the sound was terrible, and it was a lot worse in terms of how it was made. But this movie is still like the worst thing on the planet next to that movie. And that movie, Amityville Karen, did have more of a story. Mm-hmm. This movie didn't really have a story at all. It was basically like...
It's basically like the person who watched the quote movie makes up the story.
Yeah, it was like improv. Improvisational filmmaking. There was like a little tiny story that was there, but for the most part, it was just nothing. There's nothing there of substance, and the movie didn't even feel like it was actually like made. Like it just felt like there was no craftsmanship to this movie, and I'm sure that the defense would be, it's a found footage movie. Well, the weird thing is the fact that like at the same time, there are all these things about it that feel like they're trying to make it feel like a movie. Like, there's all these parts where the footage cuts and they have this static screen, and it doesn't make any sense because, like, in normal found footage movies, you never see that at all, except for if the power cuts out or the screen goes out because there's, like, a ghost that haunts the camera or something. Or it's like security camera footage that's, switching around channels. Like, you never see in, like, regular found footage movies, like the one that this movie ripped off, the Blair Witch Project. This movie really wanted to be the Blair Witch Project, and let's just say, like, yeah, that's a joke. Of course, Safi wouldn't know because Safi hasn't seen the Blair Witch Project.
No. Maybe some pieces of it.
No, you're going to be watching the whole thing.
Never watched the whole thing.
Because that is inexcusable. You've seen the second one, though, right?
No.
Oh, never mind. Because we had the VHS for the second one, And I actually saw the second one before the first one, which was a huge mistake.
I may have watched it. I don't remember. I'm not sure.
You know, the people go out to the woods and then they get killed.
I know what they do. That was like that was like a thing. They may have done a skit on Saturday Night Live, and people mocked that and made fun and of that whole Blair Witch thing. And so it was, even if you hadn't seen it, you kind of had an idea about it. So at the time it came out.
And so, anyway, Safi, why don't you begin talking about the piece of shit movie, and then I'll jump on from there.
Well, you just have these two people. I guess they're YouTubers.
Well, before you start, though, last time when we reviewed Amityville Karen, there was one excuse that someone used. They came into our comment section and they said that our sound quality was terrible. And at the time, it was pretty terrible. I hadn't realized how terrible it was because I wasn't listening to my videos anymore at that point. I used to listen to all of our videos, and I didn't anymore. And so, but that was like the only thing that people could say. Like, they couldn't go back against any of the criticisms that we made against the piece of shit movie. They could only say, like, oh, your sound quality was bad. And, well, the sound quality isn't bad anymore, so there's no more excuse for this fucking piece of shit movie. Okay, now you can go, Safi.
Okay, I think it's about two YouTubers, and they are looking for content.
Two retarded YouTubers. They are retarded, you know.
Well,
they're fucking retarded.
They're looking for content.
Yeah.
And so they hear about...
well, what kind of content do they already do, Safi? Let's talk about that.
I don't really know.
They have this video. It's called Jocelyn and Jonah. And they have this video where the title is that Jonah sticks his finger up her dog's rear end. And so in the video, he gets really excited because he thinks he's going to get to touch his girlfriend on camera, which YouTube would never allow that, by the way. The video would get flagged and taken down in a matter of days. And she's like, no, actually, you're going to molest my dog. Isn't that funny?
And I just thought some of the things that went on in that video and some of the things that were said, I thought they were very inappropriate. I didn't care for.
Well, that doesn't matter, Safi. You're a fucking retard if you think that.
That doesn't matter to some people, but I didn't. It was just such a shitty movie, and you might watch a movie that you really liked, and there might be something inappropriate in there, but wouldn't make you despise the whole thing. Okay, and what like something like that. That wasn't what made me despise the whole thing. What made me despise the whole thing, that it was terribly made. It wasn't anything. It just wasn't anything. I don't know what this found footage BS is, but I imagine it means that people died or disappeared, and they found the camera, and that's the footage is from what they found in the camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so anyway, it's about this pair of YouTubers are looking for content. They find out through different reporting, maybe on TV, maybe from other people talking, that there's this woods in town, and people have gone in there recently, I suppose. And part of whoever went in there, like let's say it was a couple or a mother and a son or something, disappeared. And never to be found again. And what's interesting, for weeks now, I've been watching a hiker person on YouTube, a real hiker who's logged thousands of miles of hiking in all kinds of different national parks. And he does videos about missing hikers' remains that have been found, hikers that have been murdered, hikers that disappeared, all kinds of, but they're very organized, and he has footage of like the place. They'll have like somebody left a diary, and they'll go to each place that's mentioned in the diary. It's very organized. He has a script, but it's very well done. And this to me, his videos are better, 1,000 times better than this piece of crap movie. Because they did have, in one of them, somebody was, they disappeared. And it ended up their leg had gotten caught in a big boulder. If the boulder went on their leg, they could never get it out of there, and they went to a remote spot. And of course, when they found them, they had died there, sitting in that place. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't extricate themselves. And they found the diary, and they had every day on there and what the person had tried to do and what they thought about everything. So that's found, something that was found, a real thing. But they're very well done. And those videos that I've been watching, which I don't know why I decided to do that. Better than this. This thing was horrible.
Well, let's get
so
back.
They go after, So they decide they're going to go to these woods. Because I guess it's the town they live in. And so they talk to people. They go to the jail and they look at the missing person photos.
They rip off the Blair Witch Project by, doing the exact same story structure where they start off, they go around town talking to people, and then they go to the woods. But we're not going to go through this like there's a plot, Safi. There's no plot to the movie.
There's no plot.
You're making it seem like there's a plot because you're doing your normal thing where you don't really review it. You just talk about the movie.
There's no plot. There's nothing to tell.
There's a lot of stuff to talk about, Safi. If you don't have anything to say, then I'll be the one to talk about it.
We'll both say stuff, but
what do you have to say?
I even hate to waste our time.
Well, yeah, you say that every time. So
this is terrible.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
But you say that every time, so.
And this guy goes online and he crowdfunds constantly for money to make his movies.
Okay, let's talk about this movie now. Okay. We're talking about this movie.
Well, did you see the crowdfunding ads to make this movie?
No, I think that this was one of the ones where he did it privately through Facebook by going to people who donated to the other ones and then begging them over Messenger, which he tried to do with me, and I just blocked him.
Wow.
Because, I was getting sick and tired of it. And, anyways, this movie, if you can't even really call this a movie. I mean, it is not a movie at all. There are so many things to talk about that, this would have been perfect for a commentary. Because there are just so many things. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. These characters, these main characters, they're extremely unlikable. There's not a single likable character in the entire movie.
No,
there's
one. The dog.
What?
The dog is likable.
That's not really a character.
Cute. No, it's.
Oh, Safi, that's stupid.
I like the dog. That's the only thing that's good about it.
That's not a character.
No, it's not, but it's on there.
So you just completely invalidated what you were saying, because I just said there's no good characters, and you just said the dog was a character. So your point isn't valid.
The dog was a good part of the show. That's the only thing.
Well, that doesn't count for what I'm talking about, so it's kind of irrelevant at this point. And so these characters, they're the exact type of characters that you would see in these modern movies where they try to make the young characters, the main teenage characters, as annoying as possible, as just horrible and obnoxious. And what's even worse is that it doesn't even really feel like they're playing characters, it just feels like they're playing themselves. This Jocelyn and Jonah, they're supposed to be a couple. They never kiss the entire movie. And it's really weird because, Chauncey, it's almost like he's trying to live out his fantasy of being in a relationship with Lauren Francesca, which is the Jocelyn. But it's really weird. You'd think that a boyfriend and girlfriend would kiss at some point in the movie. That's something that normal couples do. But this continues the weirdo filmmaking where people star in their own movies and it's they're not going to kiss their love interests. They're just going to do weird things. In this movie, there's this weird fixation with slapping each other's knees and slapping each other's elbows and things. It's really strange. It's like instead of kissing, they do that. And other things too, involving Chauncey later on, which we'll talk about.
That was gross.
And then you think about like Neil Breen. In all of his movies, well, he does kiss his love interests in some movies. But in a lot of his movies, he basically just hugs them. He hugs his love interests. Like, it's so weird and unnatural. Because, like, I don't understand it. Like, why wouldn't the boyfriend kiss the girlfriend? And then at one point, Jonah is hooking up with another chick. Why doesn't he ever kiss her? If they're getting into an affair and they're going crazy from the period blood tree sap, whatever, you're damn sure, you should be damn well sure that they're gonna kiss. They're getting into an affair for the first time. You should. That is ridiculous. Like, it's so weird. Like, why is that, Safi? That's bizarre.
Well, I just want you to realize what Marco just said. And did your ears perk up?
Well, we're not there yet.
Well, we better get there.
No, there's a lot of stuff to talk about.
That, and I can't imagine somebody could let that go. But
they have to let it go for now because there's so much other shit to talk about. I mean,
well, those characters for the movie pop in and out all the time, and they'll disappear.
Yeah.
You don't know where they are, and I guess they're planning an overnight too, but they have one tent, and the tent might hold, it just looks like a 2-person tent. I guess it could hold 3 maybe 4, but that's it. And they have a whole group of people, but they're not all together. They're like, they pop up. Then you have these other characters that just pop up. And there's characters that live in the park. And then there's these characters that are just, well, there's one, he wears I've seen him in other things, usually with Hispanics, like part of a gang or something like that. One of the bad guys. But he was very quiet, but he had lost a member of his family or something, and he was there in the park looking for them.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. And then you have all these other random people, and they seem to know them, and they just showed up, and they brought 2 people that were, I didn't get what they were. They brought them along. It's just weird.
Well, we're still at the beginning, and so what I was saying was that it really feels like they're playing themselves, because then Lauren's character has to go to her father to ask him for money. And this just felt like, for the trip, they needed $50,000 for this cheap-ass camping trip where they only bring one tent. They barely have any food, any snackums. Probably didn't even bring something that couples need for protection. They probably didn't even buy those either. And, that just felt like... And they even mentioned crowdfunding.
Yeah.
And so that just felt like they're talking about themselves, like, you know, how they like to go to their parents and ask them for money for whatever they need, or they could crowdfund. And so that was really cringeworthy, because, like, this movie felt like less of a movie and just more like the reflections of what's inside Chauncey's head. In his bald head, his balding head. That he's really proud of, because it makes him look like Clint Howard a little bit.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's pretty bad, Safi. And so, like, okay, what else should we... Okay, we should get to the coroner. The sheriff's station first, because there's so, as I've said again, there's so much stuff to talk about. They go to the sheriff's station. And, you know, people paid to have their pictures on missing persons posters, which is a good idea in concept. But in execution with Chauncey, he spends like 5 minutes taking video of these missing persons posters. And, there is a purpose in the movie of, like, let's see all the people who went missing because of the witch. But no, they spend like 10 minutes staring at these posters. And it is so stupid. I mean, you can just tell this is not a real film. This is amateurish and poor. Like, in the original Blair Witch Project, they didn't spend 1,000 years, like, focusing in on these missing persons pictures. They spent, like, a couple of seconds.
Well, what he's talking about is people will pay more, maybe, to have something in the movie that relates to them, their picture, or they might be saying something like one line, and so these pictures, these posters, for people who probably paid extra. It's a perk that they get for donating extra money. So. That's what he's talking about.
And then they go to the jail cells, and we get to see Tom Sizemore.
The real Tom Sizemore.
And apparently this might have been like his last movie or one of his last movies. And I just think, like, wow, that is such a depressing ending to his career, to be in a Chauncey movie is like one of his last movies. Like, that is worse than, like, being canceled. That's worse than, like, being Harvey Weinstein. That's worse than being, like, an unemployable actor who just has to go to conventions all the time. Like, that is, like, the worst fate. Like, that's the fate that's worse than death. That Kim was supposed to suffer in Better Call Saul. Like, that's the fate that she should have suffered, was just being in a Chauncey movie. Wouldn't that have been funny, Safi?
Yeah.
And that whole thing is just there's the weird thing with the comedy in this movie is that it's very juvenile. And Chauncey, he's really old now. He's getting older and older. I mean, he's going to qualify for Social Security pretty soon. And his humor is somehow even more juvenile than what it was back when he did, like, quality videos with MJ in Maryland. Like, somehow his humor has gotten even more cringeworthy, even more just awful, and just like, oh, it's really funny that we're saying these bad words that we're not allowed to say because we're all, like, grown-up children, and I can't even kiss my girlfriend because I'm going to get cooties from kissing Lauren Francesca.
And he does mention the word cooties.
Yeah.
In the movie, not in terms of his quote girlfriend, but some old lady who isn't she? No, she's not. I'm not sure who
she was. Lauren's mom.
Well,
she was Jocelyn's mom.
That's what I thought. So who was must have been her stepmother. Okay. And he said something about getting cooties from her.
Yeah.
Which was bizarre.
I thought that's very, very childish.
I couldn't believe it.
And it just shows, And then after they're all done with this pointless jail scene where nothing really happens, Tom Sizemore's they're just talking about, I'm not even going to say it in front of Safi, but, like, they just say a bunch of weird shit, and
it doesn't make any sense. It's not funny.
It doesn't, it's not funny. And after they're through with this pointless scene, guess what they do? They go all the way back to the fucking missing persons posters. I mean, what is up with that?
Yeah.
And they stare at them for 10 more minutes. I mean, is this like the fucking Blair Witch Project where the fucking guy's like, you have to go stand in the corner while I kill your fucking friend? No, it's like in Sean C. Phillips' fucking world, you gotta go stare at the missing persons posters until you fucking die. It's bizarre.
No, they decide to leave.
No, they go to the coroner, and now this part is really funny because Chauncey's gonna love this. With Amityville Karen, there was this guy who bought my Blu-ray that I'm so sad that I bought that movie. He bought my Blu-ray for full price because he wanted to see his name and his scene in the ending credits, and they misspelled his name. He paid all that money, and they misspelled his name. And so that's how much they care about you, the people who are spending money on this shit. You know, for all the Chauncey fanboys and the you-know-what suck-offs, you know, that's what they think about you. They misspell your name because they don't really care about you at all. And, well, the coroner, he's this guy who looks like he has so much plastic surgery his face is about to explode. And, well, instead of writing coroner on the cast list, guess what they put? They put corner. They put, he's the corner. What is up with that, Safi? Like, this is a simple thing here of, like, you just go on fucking IMDb, it takes like 2 fucking seconds, you look at the fucking cast list and you scroll down and you see there's that fucker with the face that looks like it's about to explode into a million fucking pieces like it's in fucking scanners, and you see we put corner because we're idiots. And then you change that and it takes like 1 minute. No, that's too hard. That's way too hard for Chauncey. You have to buy another perk for him to change that. You have to buy the, what would it be, Safi? The competency perk for him to have a little bit of competence, because he is so incompetent as a director and a filmmaker and everything else. And so let's get to, what, Safi? Let's get to the bar scene, or the night, or the restaurant scene. So in this scene, I was giving Safi some commentary while I was watching it.
Yeah.
In this restaurant, we started to have some sound problems again in this bitch, because in this restaurant, they had this music playing, and it was on at like 1 out of 100 volume, so you could barely hear it at all. It was very unrealistic, very poor and amateurish. There's really no excuse for that. I mean, you just turn up the fucking music.
Well, they probably didn't have permission to use it.
I don't know, because you can get music, though. And that's another thing. This movie doesn't even fucking have any music. The people who made this movie spent all this time. They spent all this time working on the movie. And they don't even make any music for the movie, except for, like, the last scene or so. There's music, like, near the very end. But there's no music in the rest of the movie. And in this restaurant, this music is playing at like 0 volume. And then there's this poor old Asian woman on stage. And she's got a microphone and she's dancing around to this music that she can't even hear in the restaurant. So what is she even dancing to? And she's also holding the microphone up to her face and pretending like she's singing. But she's not singing at all. And there's nothing coming out of her mouth even. So it's like, what was up with that?
I don't know. You know, that sounds like, you know, on soap operas, they'll go to a club and they'll be dancing around. Well, the actors say that there's no music playing. That after the scene is shot, where they're dancing around and nothing, then they put the music.
But there's a difference there. They added music there. They didn't add anything here.
Well, you gotta wonder, were they intending on doing that and they just decided?
I don't know. They're retarded fuckwads. They probably didn't fucking care because they're too busy. Chauncey's too busy staring at pictures of Lauren Francesca in his bedroom and writing his next shitty-ass movie. It's probably going to be called, like, "Give me money, please. Please give me more money." That's what his next movie will be called, because there's one of them that's coming up. It's literally called Pay to Die. I mean... And so anyways, also in this restaurant, there's this part where the characters are talking to each other at this little restaurant booth, and you can see in the background the other people, and, you know, people notice these things. That's why filmmaking is not just something that anyone can do. Well, anyone can do it, but it's not just something that anyone can do and do it right. Because you get shit like this, where you had these people all in the background, and instead of even pretending to talk, they didn't even add any talking in the background, like noise in the background. And these people, they're sitting there staring at each other like they're frozen in time. You know, like they froze time while the main characters are sitting in front of the camera talking. And, like, that's how badly this movie is made. Is that, like, we can't even have these characters, like, go, like, mouth and pretend to talk to each other or nod or do anything like that. It's like, oh, no. Just sit there and stare and pretend like you're frozen by some ice villain.
Commercials?
I don't know.
They'll have them, whatever the scene is, the actors will be talking to each other. They're in a restaurant or they're at home. It's a family, and they're talking about some medication or something, and they're talking amongst themselves. And I always think, I wonder what they're talking about.
Really?
Yeah, and you can hear them talk. I mean, it's just a low buzz. You can't really hear exactly what they're saying, but still, don't they see that? Don't they watch, TV at all? Any commercial?
Well, that's the funny thing, is that Chauncey, he has watched so many movies.
Yeah.
But he doesn't even know how to make one anymore. I mean, that's the depressing part, which is exactly what we said with Amityville Karen, is that he used to make really, really fun and good videos, and I always thought, like, it would be really cool to see, like, when he was able to make, like, a full-on feature movie with all the money that he needs to make that movie. But now that he finally has the opportunity and the money to make it, it's just completely terrible, to the point of where it's almost like it looks like a scheme of some kind. Yes. Like some sort of a scheme where it's just like they want to get all the money.
Grifting, which we've heard now for several years. He's real good at it. And when you see him ask for money, he's excellent at it. That's why I say he should work for somebody else who actually can make a movie, asking for crowdfunding, because he's so good at it.
Well, you wouldn't want to work with him, though. That
would be his position only.
That's what that one guy said.
The making of the movie. Just making the money. And collecting it.
That doesn't matter. You would trust him with collecting the money?
Well, no, I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to hire him.
Safi, he literally looks like the fucking Hamburglar. I mean, you trust him with the money? Oh, God. Oh, that'd be a big mistake.
He collects videos.
I would trust a fucking homeless drug dealer on the street with my money before I trusted Chauncey.
Well, every Tuesday, he goes to the video store, like, let's say, Best Buy, and he checks or Target or something, and he checks their video collection to see if they've got anything new.
Well, that I think it's a good thing to do, because, people need to buy physical media, and they need to buy physical copies of movies.
I know that, but the thing is, I think he's using this money he gets from crowdfunding to enhance his collection.
I don't know. So anyways, that whole restaurant scene was a piece of shit. It was a piece of watery, bloody shit, and the rest of the movie's just even a bigger shit storm. Just shit everywhere. And so what's next? Like, there's just so much. Like, this movie is like a gift from God for reviewers. Like, this movie is so bad, it's going to be like a highlight movie on a certain channel that we all know and love. They're going to review the entire thing, going through every single little scene. And, I can't wait for that day. But anyways, what's next? I mean, do we even want to talk about, like, the mom and how she hates Jonah and Jonah hates her? And do we even want to talk about that? I don't think so. It's not worth it. But
she has this dog, and like we've talked about the dog before, and they doing it's inappropriate.
Yeah, apparently they molested it, and
she wants the dog to kill Jonah.
Yeah, that was queer.
All up. She's just kidding. The dog is very quiet. In fact, I think it's an elderly dog.
And I think, that mother, she should have, apparently she watches their channel, or she knows about their channel, And so why isn't the mother looking at their channel and seeing that Jonah is molesting the dog on camera and then calling the police and calling animal control, whatever you would call when someone abuses an animal like that?
Which is illegal here in Ohio.
Because, like, wouldn't anyone be calling the police about that? Like, wouldn't anyone be concerned about that? Or is that just too hard to figure out for people making the movie, like, when they wrote it?
No, no.
So anyways, they get to the woods, and this is where we get introduced to a lot of other characters. And when I say characters, I mean fuckwads. Oh yeah, and they met with the mayor. That was a actress from Nightmare on Elm Street 4. She's getting old and desperate now, I guess, because she's got to be in a Chauncey movie. And they go to the woods, and this is where I almost fell off my chair in amazement, because guess who came back in this movie? Woody Harrelson himself from Amityville Karen. And in this movie, he unleashes his full Woody Harrelson, because, you know, apparently he thinks he's like a cowboy. And so, you know, in this movie, he's got all of his cowboy clothes that he likes to wear, and he's like this cowboy guy in the forest, and his acting is just so terrible. It feels like so obvious that, like, he pays to be there. Because, like, his acting, it's just like he stands out like a sore thumb. And there's so many other people in this movie where they just stand out because they do not fit at all. Because there's no direction in this movie. All these people, oh God, he's raping someone in that movie. Ew. I don't know what that movie was. Just looked at his IMDb page and got very disturbed. But he's really, really bad in this movie. Practically every time that he was on screen, I was laughing at him. Like, there was this one scene where they were telling campfire stories, and by campfire stories, I mean shit, because they didn't really tell shit. And Lauren Francesca is talking, and you just look at this guy's face, Woody Harrelson's face, and the faces that he's making are just so bizarre. It's like he looks like he's like having violent diarrhea or something. Like, I don't even know. It's just so weird. And it's because there's no direction. There's no okay, stand here like this and do this and this. It's just like, oh, do whatever you want. Just do whatever you want. It's all gonna work because we don't really care. We just want to steal people's money on crowdfunding sites. Yeah. You know, we just want to fuck people over and make shitty movies. And
you know, actors, you know, established actors, experienced actors, they talk about the direction they get.
They need direction.
And they'll
that's why they're actors.
I know, well, they'll be eager to get it, and then they say how much they appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because it helped them look at whatever they were thinking about the scene that they were going to do. It helped them look at it in a perspective that they hadn't had before. And it helped them see it for something that they didn't know, and they could do better at it than what they had originally thought on their own. And that's why the direction was so important.
There's also another guy in this movie, by the way, and he looks like John Cena. So yeah, you got John Cena in this movie as well. Except he somehow he's even worse than John Cena. And you know, John Cena's a terrible actor, so that's pretty bad. And so there's another scene too where Woody Harrelson, he's sitting in this tent and he's got this stick. And the stick is kind of shaped like it could be like a rifle or something, I guess, if you're
really
like
long,
if you're mentally ill
and straight,
and you think it's a rifle, well, it's got a little curve at the end. And so there's this one part where people are talking to them in the tent, and then Woody Harrelson, he picks up the stick and he pretends like it's a rifle and like he's aiming it at the person and warning him that he's going to shoot them. It, like, out of nowhere, for no reason whatsoever. And I'm like, this is bad direction. There's no direction here.
And he talks about Chauncey he talks about that he's the director of all these movies. And you're like, well, what does that even mean?
Well, he co-directed it with Lauren. So it's partially her fault.
I guess so, if you put it that way.
But I'm not going to blame her completely because she's working with Chauncey. And so
I think he's been around longer and been doing this longer than her.
I don't know. I mean, he should know better because he's made better videos in the past. And so, anyways, what else? Because there's so much to talk about. I don't even know if we can finish talking about it in one video.
Let's say we did.
There's so much.
Well, let's just talk about going to the woods.
It's so bad. Oh, yeah, and he endangers Lauren while driving again. They have this little part where she's driving and she's, you know how in these wooded areas you have like the cliffs and things. And so she starts going, oh no, I'm terrible at driving. Oh no. And she's almost going to drive off the cliff. And Jonah's like, what are you doing? You know, this whole movie is very annoying like that and loud and obnoxious. So if you think I'm annoying and loud and obnoxious, that's just a little sample of this movie. And so he endangered her driving, again, telling her to do that, pretend like she's going to drive and swerve off the cliff, and she's, twisting around the steering wheel like she's going to actually go off. And it's like, I don't know what it is with Chauncey and endangering his actors by making them drive in these dangerous situations.
I don't know.
What do you think about that, Safi?
I just know she was doing that, and all of a sudden they were there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what happened?
They teleported.
It was like it edited oddly.
The editing for the whole movie was terrible. I mean, there was no editing here. There was no cinematography, and I'm sure people are going to say, it's a found footage movie. You know, that's going to be the excuse. You know, for last movie, the excuse was like, oh, well, the sound quality on your review is bad, so that's why the movie's bad. That's a good excuse. And for this movie, it's a found footage movie. That's not a fucking excuse. You see with the Blair Witch Project, you don't think that the Blair fucking Witch Project had good cinematography? Go back and watch that movie. There's shots in that movie that are iconic. The shot on the poster with the girl's face is iconic. It is creepy. It's an amazing, amazing shot, even though it is very easy to parody because it's very funny. In another instance, there is cinematography in that movie. Just because this is a found footage movie doesn't mean it's an excuse for there to be no editing and no cinematography and no production anything.
No, too, and they're going to this place. Something woods, and
the retard woods.
You wonder, what does that even mean? And so they go there, and at first when they're walking around, it just seems like they went off the road and they're kind of like walking on the side of the road. It's not any big area. But then when they go further going into the woods, they're looking for a particular tree. We'll talk about that next. But you look beyond, and it is a huge, it's probably a national park. And it doesn't look like any small town woods. I mean, you could see for miles out there. And I thought, that must be some kind of national park. So I don't know, but it's just not, it's really even hard to imagine what they're talking about. Because their idea of the woods doesn't match up with normal.
Well, I mean, it's California, Safi. I
know that, but I mean, in California, they have definite parks, and they're miles and miles and miles. And this looked like it was huge, monstrous, and I know it wasn't Yosemite, but it was way at what wasn't, and there was no houses or anything. So I was wondering what it was. I didn't realize that desert in Southern California, I didn't even realize that was a a park, a national park. I had no idea. Is it Death Valley? I had no idea there was a national park. So it's not like that. This is all leafy, and it's not really, you don't see, it's not like regular like trees. Like,
well, can we get to the period
I
blood
know,
tree?
Anyway, it's really hard to talk about this because
No, it's not. There's this hippie
weird.
group in the movie, and instead of having an actual witch in this movie, there's a hippie group, which is very weird, because that's another thing with this movie, is that, I was expecting at the very least for this to be like a horror movie, where you would have horror go on. You'd have scares, you'd have darkness, you'd have witches, bitches, all that kind of fucked up shit. Kills, gore, blood, violence, nudity. There's a little bit of nudity, but there's also some really cringeworthy nudity with Chauncey and with other people wearing fake you-know-whats. And that was another really weird thing that I don't even want to talk about, frankly. But there's no horror at all, and except for in the last, 10 minutes of the movie. And so the majority of the movie is basically like this terrible comedy, like this wannabe comedy, where it can't be funny because these characters are so unlikable and obnoxious, and the jokes are so terrible, and people that are pretending that they're funny, they're just kissing Chauncey's ass, and they're not saying the truth. Because, you think about Dumb and Dumber, and you think about movies where the main characters are obnoxious. In Dumb and Dumber, you actually really like those characters a lot, and you really want them to succeed, and you want them to win. And, they are obnoxious at times, and they are really stupid, but the movie starts off making you like those characters. And in this movie, instead of doing that, the movie starts off and immediately you hate these characters. They abuse animals. And they don't even kiss each other. They're boyfriend and girlfriend. They don't even kiss. I mean, what the fuck is up with that? Safi, let's get to the period blood tree.
Oh, God.
You talk about it since you're more knowledgeable about period blood trees.
I was thinking about whatever they use for this area. It might have been different places, because I'm just thinking about all the different...
Probably.
They don't match. They
Well,
don't go together. Like these different shots. So
well,
have a cabin.
that is a part of filmmaking, is that you match up different locations, but they did not do it in a successful way, is what you're saying.
No, they didn't. And so anyway, apparently, what would you call it? The myth about these woods is that at the edge of the woods, there's a... God, I even hate to say, it's just so stupid. It makes me want to...
There is a tree, and period blood comes out of the tree instead of sap. And Chauncey, he is cheating on his girlfriend with this other girl, and we'll talk about her a lot later in the review at the very end. And he goes with her to this tree, and she stabs it, and blood comes out, and she starts drinking it, and then when you drink the tree stuff, you start going crazy, and which is honestly, Chauncey is very, very repetitive as a storyteller, because this is like the millionth time where someone has eaten a food or had a drink and it's made them go crazy, or something bad has happened. Because you think about Amityville Karen, there was the cursed wine in that movie, and that woman turned into a serial killer because she drank the wine. And you think about Lust for Blood, which is a movie that he made back in the olden days when he was actually trying to be a good filmmaker. And in that movie, there's something about liquids and goo at the end where the goo kills them or something, and just something with liquids and something like that. And then you had... well, I guess that's it. But, I mean, I really think, though, that he has an obsession with liquids. And, he has some sort of a fear of liquid.
I don't know, but, I mean, on the face of it, drinking period blood,
Well...
and why it would be coming from a tree, of all things.
Because the tree...
It was an old tree. It was very big. Had a very thick trunk.
I don't know.
Been around for a while.
The tree is having its period.
She stabs her knife into it. And why would she start drinking it? Of all things. I mean, it's just stupid.
Because she's retarded.
And it has to do with whatever they don't know, but they think it has something to do with, or it might have something to do with all these disappearances.
And so why did they drink it?
I don't see the connection, but that's the question. Why would they do that? Why would they drink it?
Another thing is that the mayor, there's this big cover-up where the mayor doesn't want to say anything. But at the very least, if the mayor knew that the tree, if you drink the period blood, shit's going to happen, she should have said something. But then again, like the mayor probably thought, what idiot is going to drink period blood out of a tree? Well, Chauncey will. Or his new girlfriend that he doesn't even kiss, he just makes her. And now this is the part where it gets really, really cringeworthy. Chauncey has this girl, this poor girl, at least he paid her, and he has her take his shirt off and then rub the period blood all over his chest. And he says, feel my breasts. And then she's feeling his man boobs. And he's like, oh! And then they show it again. And she's grown this monster tongue that you can clearly tell is fake. And she's licking his nipples, and while he's saying, lick my nipples! Lick my nipples! Ah! And it's like, that's a sample of this movie. People paid for this movie, Safi. They paid money that they earned for this movie.
There's so many times where I'd like to get on there and say, don't waste your money, because you'll be lucky if the movie gets made. Much less have your picture or your name or anything associated with it. And because what did we decide that this movie was made when? 4 years ago? We were talking.
I don't know. No. I don't know when it was made. The movie that I donated to was made 4 years ago.
So Marco actually fell for it, I guess.
Well, that was his first movie, and I didn't have any basis of comparison except for his old movies that were good.
Yeah.
Old videos.
So
they go crazy and everything, and shit happens, and also there's this hippie commune, and there's a lot of jokes with the hippies. Like, there's this one, and he's Russian, and do you think that guy was really Russian, Safi?
I was going to ask you the same thing.
He was so fake and phony and, like, cartoonish, stereotypical.
He did a pretty good job with the accent, so if he isn't...
But it was just so random. Like, every actor in this movie was just given, like, the free will to just go around and do whatever you want. And then they had this weird thing where they had this black guy and he wears this fake genitalia, and it's just really, really weird, the things they do in this movie. And then there's this other thing where the hippie commune, they're the bad guys. They're the ones killing people.
Coven.
Yeah.
That's what it
And
is.
one of them shows their boobs to John Cena, and then ZZ Tops without the beard. He's also there. And they lure these guys with their boobs. And then the guys are like, we thought we were going to get some boobs, which was very strange. It's, again, very childish, the way this movie was written. But then did they get killed? I can't even remember, because, like, there's only, like, one death in the whole movie, like, 1 or 2 deaths, or 3 deaths if you count James Duvall at the very beginning, who goes missing. There's only, like, 2 deaths in this whole, like, an hour and 40-minute movie.
It's not obvious. You know, if you watch any other horror movie, it's obvious when somebody gets killed. In this movie, you're like, I don't know.
Well, I don't know about anything because it's so bad.
Yeah.
And then there's this other park ranger, too, by the way, and he's going around the forest with a Nerf gun.
A Nerf gun.
And he's threatening people. He's like, if you don't get out of these woods, I'm gonna do something. And he's got this Nerf gun. And it's like,
which is ridiculous. I'm not saying he should have a real gun.
Yeah, he should.
But I mean, a Nerf gun?
Yeah.
Really?
A Nerf gun.
Because they are, apparently nowadays, they are armed.
But it's a found footage movie. That's the excuse. It's a found footage movie, Safi, so it's gonna suck. And the humor in this movie, too, there was one joke that I remember in particular being so cringeworthy, and it didn't even make sense. There's this one part where Jocelyn, she's getting high off of off of a liquid. That was another liquid.
I thought it was wine or something.
Yeah, it was a wine. It was another cursed wine. So Chauncey has an obsession with liquids.
I think he feels like it's an easy thing to
I don't know.
change people's personalities.
It's really gay. And so she drinks it and she starts going crazy, and then she says that this other girl is going to show her, and then they edited it and they cut to the shot where she's saying twig and berries or nuts and berries.
Yeah.
And it's like, how does that even make any sense of like, she's a girl. She's not a transvestite. She's a girl. So, like, what is she talking about? Like, how is that, like, funny? How is that, like, why did they do that? It's so weird.
I don't know.
It's so weird. And there's this big thing at the end where they're at the hippie commune, and it turns into this thing where Jocelyn, she has this necklace, and then we finally meet the actual witch. And the twist, well, there's two twists. The first twist is that the witch is basically a dork that's in like a cloak from Spirit Halloween and has a mask on from Spirit Halloween. And it's like, this is the scary witch that you've been waiting to see this entire movie, and that you don't even get to see until the very fucking end. And all she has to do to defeat this witch is toss the witch's necklace at her, and then the witch suddenly collapses and starts melting or something. But that's when Chauncey points out the other twist. The other twist is that the witch is actually a warlock because, surprise, surprise, this warlock has another fake you-know-what. And now this part is actually so graphic, I don't even know if I want to mention it, but
I just don't.
the Russian guy, I really hope that actor quits Hollywood and runs away in fear and like hides forever after this movie, because I would not want people to have seen what he did in this movie to that warlock. He was trying to give the warlock mouth to mouth in another way, on another part of his body. And so, like, that was just like, what the hell? What the hell? Like, this is so bad, and this is so dumb and stupid, and it's just insulting that, like, someone would actually make this and then release it and say it's an actual movie. Because this is not a movie right here. And so then, after that, Jocelyn decides that because Chauncey cheated on her, which I don't know why she cares, they don't even kiss, they probably don't even do anything else either, so they take off his genitalia too. That's another thing. Chauncey has an obsession with genitalia. His own genitalia, not with women's genitalia, with men's genitalia. Because there's like 3 or 4 fake genitalias in this movie, and all of them are male, and that just makes you wonder.
I don't know what to say. It's a stupid movie.
you watch the movie.
Worth crap. It's
Yeah.
just not worth anything.
Yeah.
I wasted my time watching it. And I've seen, how many other movies have I seen of his? Just one?
Well, there's only one other available right now.
Yeah, I guess that's it. The Karen one, or the Amityville Karen, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I don't know. Like, I guess I don't know if there's much else to say for now. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff too, but it's just
it's not worth it.
I don't know. I don't know.
But I'll tell you, don't fall for his
I don't know.
very appealing grifting or crowdfunding a movie, because you're going to be very disappointed. And I would hate for you to be out any money of any kind supporting his movie making. So don't fall for it. And he's really good. He's really good. Like somebody else who's been really good at getting money and starting to fail.
Now this is even more funny
He's
too.
not asking for that.
Apparently for this movie, there was a creative consultant.
Oh my God.
I mean, that just all. Oh, he's dead. He died. He probably died from making this movie because it was so bad.
That's sad.
This movie had a creative consultant, Safi.
What does that even mean?
That means, well, in normal cases, it would mean something very helpful and useful. But I don't know, where the fuck did the creativity go to making the fake genitalia? Like that, like that's the only thing. Like, oh, a guy did the genitalia too. That's not surprising. Like this movie, it probably I just can't even imagine giving the script to someone and saying we're gonna make this movie, because there's no script here. There's no script at all.
We just thought that they had.
You could tell.
And everything had been improv.
Yeah.
And
Which
really, the director loses control.
Yeah.
If it's all improv, because he or she does not know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
So that's not really a good thing.
No, that's amateurish.
Unless you have a complete directed thing, and then you might. Marco was talking about an Office episode. I won't say which one, and he said that what happened in that, a certain thing that happened, it was completely improv into there. But I mean, but the rest of the thing is very directed, very cleanly and efficiently, and so it wasn't something that stuck out like a sore thumb. I don't think. I didn't care for it, but and maybe it might have been a good example. But I imagine that with all the seasons that they had in that show, that there was more than one case that he did improv. Steve Carell. So, anyway.
Well, what else is
the
there?
Whole movie be improv is a different story.
Well, what else is there to say?
I don't know. There's nothing to say. In the end, I think Chauncey dies because you don't see him. And I was wondering, who's behind the camera? Because, they talk about the girl and the guy do these movies. But then with this old lady who's supposed to be the girl's mother in the very beginning, there's also a guy, and he says that's his cameraman.
Yeah, and they're a couple.
So I don't know. I don't get that.
Yeah, he stays back with her.
You don't see Chauncey in the end. You see his girlfriend, that Jocelyn, and then some of those girls who were living in the quote hippie commune, and that's it. They're like the park rangers come there, and he's. I don't know. He's coming there because why? Checking in on them.
I don't know, but
checking the area.
That was basically just an excuse so that you could see that Jocelyn was now fully a part of the coven.
Yeah.
And that that was her fate, and then he drives away, and that could have been good if it was in a better movie and better story. I just think though it was so disappointing just on the level of which would you rather watch, Safi? The Blair Witch Project or this? I'd rather watch all 3 Blair Witch Projects than watch this ever again. And that's saying something, because the second one's really bad, and the third one is even worse. And so, I would much rather watch those, because at least those feel like this is more so what this type of movie should be. And there was really nothing here of substance. It was just the whole movie felt like just a bunch of random shit. And they can do it because you paid for it, because you're gullible. You're going to fall for his schemes and scams. And this movie is a scam. Because this movie, I think like an idiot could do better than this, making a movie.
Yeah, so what's your food review, Marco?
Well, before we get to the food review, I would like to mention, because I don't think I said a good thing the entire review. I would say, oh yeah, I gotta go back. Okay, what's your food review, Safi?
Well, I just give it some Swedish fish. And that's probably not a very good one, but I don't like Swedish fish. They're gross. And I hated this movie. So, or I could give it, another thing I could give it would be those orange circus peanuts.
Ooh.
Those are even worse.
Pink.
No, they're orange or coral or something, and those are really gross, and I really wouldn't want to eat those ever. So Swedish fish, no, they're gross. Anyway, but they're not as gross as the Swedish fish aren't as gross as circus peanuts. So that's what I would give this movie, and nobody watch it because it's horrible. Okay, go ahead, Marco.
Well, the last thing is, I would say that Lauren Francesca did a good job. Would you agree with that,
Yeah,
Safi?
I thought she did a good job.
She's a good actress.
Yeah, she's very solid. And the thing with him is you can't take him seriously.
No, because he's too over the top, and not in a good way. Especially in these recent movies, because he feels like he's playing himself. He doesn't feel like he's playing a character. And, well, it doesn't feel like he's playing a character. Like, in his older movies, in any of those movies, it at least felt like he was playing characters. He played all sorts of different characters. That's what he wants to be known for, actually. He wants to be a character actor like Clint Howard. And in this movie, he is not playing a character. He's just playing himself. Like a very over-the-top version of himself. Because a lot of the movie, too, he's behind the camera. He's shooting it like he would shoot like a YouTube video. And it's very reminiscent of just like if he was doing a video himself and he was acting over the top. And I say that because in a lot of his older videos, they would script things. You know, in a lot of the, even like the vlogs where they're just going around town, they would script little things to happen. And so that's what it reminded me of. And also, the woman who played Dacia, Kelly Lynn Ryder, I thought that she did a good job as well. I thought that she was the best actress in the movie out of all of them. So, that's what I would say about that. And then the movie, in terms of food, it's really tough because you got to give it something really, really bad. I mean, it really deserves it. And I don't know. I don't know if there is a food that is bad enough to give this movie. Oh yeah, there is. For my birthday, I got this turtle soup, and It was the worst thing out of all the things that I got. I ordered this New Orleans food, and the turtle soup, it did not taste very good at all. And it was very disappointing because I was looking forward to trying turtle soup and seeing if it was any good. And it was very gross. It tasted like dirt. It tasted like lentils. And it gave me a little bit of food poisoning a few hours later. And so that's what I would say this movie's like, because this movie's like dirt. Oh yeah, and there's a post-credit scene for this movie too. It's completely pointless. It basically felt like Chauncey, he really wanted to work with Lisa Wilcox more, so he just thought of some random shit they could do where this other guy takes off his shirt in front of her or something, like really, really weird. So yeah, there is a post-credit scene after you sit through like the 10 minutes of credits of all the poor people who spent money to fund this movie. They all say their little thing, their little videos. Right, Safi?
Okay, so if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers so you can tell us what you're watching and don't watch this. Okay,
No.
bye.
Bye.